Hola, es Fernanda. Today I want to talk about raising your standards and giving you a practical guide and also a couple of reminders to hold up the standards, keep up with the idea, and allow yourself to stay in your lane when it comes to raising your standards. So the first thing is to become so clear on what you're no longer available for. I think that people come into our lives to bring up emotions and old patterns. And sometimes they're there to show you what no longer resonates. And not in a malicious way, not because they're wrong, but to show you you're just no longer available for that. And it doesn't make you feel good, and you don't need to stay there. And sometimes it's like a test from the universe showing you this is what you used to want. Are you going to settle for that? Does it still make you feel good? Can you understand why we're bringing this into your life? And it's important to make a list because regardless of the relationship type, it could be within your family, it could be a romantic, it could be a friendship. If we aren't aware of where we're placing our energy and attention, and we're too understanding, too compassionate, then we risk not putting up boundaries and not showing people how we deserve to be treated. And another example of this is just the fact that you show people how you want to be treated. And if you're allowing someone to constantly treat you a certain way, you're showing them that's okay. That's how I treat me, so you can treat me that way too. But if you're aware of what you've put in the work to heal, what you value, that's another thing. Make a list of what you value, whether it's reciprocity, consistency, communication, emotional maturity. If you've been working towards that yourself, then you're going to notice if it doesn't match up with someone else, right? And if you've also put in the work to cultivate this trust and love within yourself, and you accept all of you, then it won't matter whether someone leaves or stays. You can be good either way. And the washer or something went off and that distracted me. So what values are important to you? And why are they important to you? Because, for example, you could be someone that likes to spend a lot of time alone, and so you don't need to be with people constantly. But then if you notice you're the only one reaching out in a friendship, in a relationship, then that's not the same thing. Someone can be busy and still make time for you. Someone can have a lot of people to see, someone can have a lot going on in their life. And if they want to see you, they're going to tell you that. They're going to make an effort to see you. So if you value reciprocity, regardless of how long it's been, you can still expect that from people. You can communicate that. And if it's not shown, then you know, okay, maybe I'm just not a priority. And it's not about being angry or being resentful. If anything, leaving before that, it's because you care about you and because you care about the person. And again, they're not wrong. Maybe that's what works for them. Or maybe you're just not a priority And isn't it better to just realize that sooner than to stay in something that makes you feel drained, confused, not chosen? And if you're clear on your values, then you can ask or compare. Like, it's not about how you feel towards someone, how you feel about someone. It's about how they make you feel, how you feel around them, and all of it. Not just how you feel when you're with them, but how do you feel when you're apart. And again, friendship or relationship, like romantic relationship, if your value is feeling appreciated and you feel confused, then that's your answer. It doesn't match up, and you don't need to stay in that. And another thing is to let people's actions speak. If they are busy, but they still make time, they're like, hey, sorry, this, and this, and then they continue your conversation, that's different than someone who you're constantly reaching out to hang out with or to talk to. And it can also go the same for evaluating your own relationships and how you show up. If you find that, oh, maybe like these people are important to me and I'm not really showing up the way I would want to be shown up for, then that's something that you can reflect on and decide, maybe I need to make some changes and maybe I need to make more time for these people because they're important to me and because I want to show them that. And so it's not just about trying to like judge other people, and not even judge, but notice what they're doing, but also turn the mirror on you and notice, how am I showing up for other people and how am I showing up for myself? Are you consistent with yourself? Do you allow space for your emotions? Do you allow space to understand them? Do you make an effort to communicate with other people and with yourself? Are you honest with yourself? All of those things, they reflect in your relationships. So sometimes there are people that come in to reflect that back to you. And if it doesn't align, then you can reflect on, damn, how am I not showing up for myself in that way now? And what is it that makes this person feel so important? Because when that push and pull dynamic or that chase dynamic, it's because there's something there that you haven't cultivated within yourself. So what do you need to cultivate within yourself? And how might that look different? Another thing is that, also inaction is an action. So someone's telling you constantly how much you mean to them, or when you're with them that you're important, but then they don't reach out, or they give you a day and then they don't keep that promise. That's an action, that's a choice, that's information. And it doesn't have to be something that you can feel upset, but you don't need to react to it. You can take it as data and think, did that make me feel good? Do I want that type of relationship in my life? Why am I keeping that dynamic? What is it about it? Another thing is that it's this or better. And this is something I've been learning, not just in relationships, but in any situation in my life. Sometimes you just have to wait. Sometimes you just need to leave space to be filled. And a lot of us like control. We like the comfort and familiarity. We like knowing. So we think that because this thing made me feel good or made me feel better than other things, that means that it's the best I'm gonna get, or I know that it can make me feel good sometimes, so I can just settle for that. But the truth is that sometimes we're not meant to know how the better things are going to come into our life. And trusting means letting them go because they're not fully satisfying, they're not fully fulfilling you. And knowing that it's this or better. And when you leave space and you sit in that uncomfortable space, then when that better thing comes in, you can keep learning to trust. Because then it's like, it's rest. You don't have to force things. You don't have to be a new person. Sometimes you can have people in your life that aligned with you at one point and then they don't. And it doesn't mean either of you are wrong. You've just grown differently. And that's okay. And that's meant to happen in our life. And I think it's more tiring having to be someone different around people to fit in than just accepting that you're different, you don't align. No one's bad, no one's wrong. You're just different. And that's fine. And then when the people that come in, or the situations, circumstances that come in that do match your values, what you are available for, it's so much more calm, it's so much more, you don't feel drained. And that's just more worth it. And also, when you can hold that standard with yourself of this doesn't fit anymore, and trust yourself in that, that builds a deeper connection within yourself. And that's a type of self-love that a lot of people aren't ready to confront, because we're taught that it comes externally, it comes from other people, and it doesn't. Because if you thought about, if your younger sibling, if your best friend, if your daughter came to you and told you what was going on, like told you your situation back to you, what would you be telling them? And how would you see this situation differently? Because you wouldn't be affected by how the person makes you feel or the expectations you had around it. You would just be set on, I can clearly see that this is what's going on, and I don't like it. They don't deserve that, and neither do you. But you should hold that same standard for yourself. And if you write out, I said this in another video, but if you write out as if a camera was filming, not attaching to the story that you have of yourself around your worth, around what it means to be in that relationship, but just what's going on, who texts who reaches out to who, what do they say to you, how do they react to you, how do they speak to you, how do you speak to them, what is the dynamic? And you write that out, that's data, that's truth. Regardless of what you feel about them, regardless of what you thought might be. And it's important to listen to your gut. There's always a nudge, there's always a feeling there. And you need to just listen to that. Also asking, if nothing changed, would you be happy? Because you can't change other people. You can only change you. and be responsible for you and your reactions, and that's it. So if they're showing up a certain way, that's on them. And that's not for you to fix, that's not for you to change. So if you wouldn't be happy, then you need to walk away. Also, just thinking about, how do you want to feel? If you feel confused right now and you want to feel sure, you want to feel like someone's sure about you, someone wants you in their life, then how would that look like? What would it mean? What kind of actions would show you that? And then focus on that. Think about other relationships in your life, and how do they show up that way? How do they prove to you that you mean something to them? And just know that you can be good either way. How can you fill your life with things that make you feel so full, that make you feel so good? And you can have that dynamic that you want. It just might not come from that person. And that's where the waiting comes in. So if anything resonated, I'd love to hear your perspective. I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next video.